Okay, so today we're doing grooming. So obviously this is on the basis of when you start first introducing the puppy to grooming, but this is obviously something that you can still be doing every day to keep up that positive association with the grooming, because this is something that even when the dog's going for training and with a client, dog care groom the dogs every day, and then most clients will give the dogs a groom every day as well, so it's important to keep up that positive association for our puppy walk. So if we're pretending Lottie is a little bit of a younger pup, first things first, and the first stage of what we do when we're doing the grooming is using our hands. So very similar to what we went over last week in terms of that positive association with the touch, you've got to get that first. If at any point when you're touching your pup over, if they're not entirely comfortable, then give your supervisor a shout. But if you've got at the stage where they're nice and accepting of the physical touch, then we can do the first step. The best time to do these areas of grooming is when your pup is nice and relaxed. In the evening is normally quite a good one. Whereas, for example, if you tried to do it as soon as the pup wakes up in the morning, you're probably going to be fighting a little bit of a losing battle. So as ever, set the pup up to succeed and set up your times and schedule in accordance with the pup. So the first stage of it is the pup can be at this stage in a sit, in a down, in a stand, as long as they're relaxed and comfortable and accepting of the touch. If you think they're moving around a little bit, what you can do is have one finger just inside of the collar without putting any tension into the collar, but just a hold if they're nice and accepting. And with your fingers, basically you can go with the layer of the fur or against the layer of the fur. And basically the first stage of grooming is pretty much just like you're giving your dog a stroke, really, and like a cuddle. And even if you're doing it in this stage in terms of a little bit of a play, it doesn't really matter as long as the dog likes it. And all we're doing here, and as you can see with lots already down here, this is just getting up a lot of the dead surface hair. And you'll notice that when we groom, basically the collar acts as a nice marker to cut off the head. And then what we do is at the middle of the legs, we cut them off, and also the tail, we cut them off, and we're just sticking to this big bulk area of the body there. So I'm using both hands, getting it all up. Now obviously Lottie's an older dog, so potentially you might not be able to do this with a puppy. You might turn around and give you a mouth and be a little bit silly. If that is the case, both for this stage and also the next stage, the best thing to do is to keep their mouth occupied, and you can do this in 3 ways. Firstly, if you've got a chew stick, which I don't, you can hold that, and as they're chewing, you can just be using your hand to give them a stroke in and around. Secondly, if you've got a particular toy they like, I had to use this one for Lottie because she won't do it with the others, there you go. So you can keep the mouth busy, and again, as she's doing that, do that stage. And lastly, you can just get normal treats out in that. Hold it at the end of your fingers like so, let her nibble on it for a couple of seconds, keep your hands away and release so she doesn't get frustrated. Then get another one out and repeat the process. And obviously this aspect in terms of using your fingers, we're just using this part of the body. You can obviously then with your fingers check the feet and stuff like that, but that tends to be more of the checking process. So once you've got that, we move on to the zoom groom area. Now really importantly is to put this out of reach when you're not using it, because the pups will use it as a toy. And this is a stage of the grooming where the puppy is most likely to mess about and play because they want to get hold of this. So this really is the time when you will have to keep the mouth busy using the toy or using the treats. So again, with the zoom groom, you can go with the layer of the fur, against it, circles, pretty much any way you want. You're not exerting a lot of pressure downwards, it's just nice, soft, gentle sweeps to again dig up any of that loose hair and dead hair that has already happened here with Lottie. So again, keep her mouth busy, go in nice circles, and release. I've put the treats in the wrong pocket here. So again, just over the side from there, and on the sides, lovely. And you can see that's bringing up a load of hair that my fingers couldn't. And again, on the other side. Now one of the main things that you need to look for as well, and I've finished and I've put it away, with some of you will have combs as well, probably not dissimilar to that. Realistically, at puppy walk, we don't really have to use these, and these are the combs that are most likely probably going to cause an issue, because if used wrong, it can be quite a discomfort for the pup. So realistically, once you've got, my advice would be, if you've got to this stage, the last stage, obviously you can see the dead hair up there, is just again to use your hands as the last step. So again, you combining it as a bit of a stroke for the pup. And then that's just getting rid of all the hair that the Zoom Groom has brushed up. And much nicer than using the comb, and just means you're using a less piece of equipment as well. And as you can see from that, you can see the stuff on the floor. So a lot's come off there. As ever, as with checking and grooming, is only do it if the pup is comfortable with you doing it. So for example, if you're very similar to what we talked about with the checking video, if when you're grooming the pup is excessively trying to move away from you consistently, is excessively pawing at you, which may be seen as playful but might also be a very polite way of the pup asking to stop, any sort of fearful body language, for example, hunched over posture, ears back, frozen body language, a lot of weight being put on one particular limb, so that, for example, if you were, say, grooming the right hand side, if they were really leaning over to the left, really stretching to get away from it, then basically it means that we've gone one step too far and we need to go back a step. So any signs of an unease at being checked or groomed, just speak to your supervisor, because it's a really